A few weeks ago, before I went on vacation, I was on the Twitters and somebody linked to an article about an innovation from Spinrite. Spinrite is the maker of such yarns as Bernat, Caron, a few other things, and they have something to solve, they claim, a long-standing problem for knitters, and that is to avoid knots and tangles in their yarn, and it is called the OGO. What is OGO? Well, really, it's just a different way to wind yarn in a packaging. It kind of looks like a donut. Well, I've got questions. A, does it really work? B, what is inside this donut? And C, even if this is the most amazing way to wrap yarn ever, is the yarn even worth it? Well, we're gonna find out as I test this live for you. So, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, give this video a thumbs up, and let's learn about the OGO. Couple quick things before we get fully into this first impression review. One, down in the description box you will find timestamps to different parts of the video. As always, I hope that you will watch the whole video through at least one time, but you know, if there's something specific you want to get to, you can find timestamps down in the description box. Also in the description box you will find links to materials that I have used in today's video, and they will include affiliate links. What is an affiliate link? It's just a link to a website where you can make a purchase if you would like. If you do make a purchase, then I might then make a small commission, and these commissions help support my channel so that I can buy things like OGO yarn to review. Or I can upgrade equipment or do various things to help, you know, improve this channel and support this growing community. So, you know, if you use one of my affiliate links, thank you so much. I appreciate it so much. But of course, the most important thing, the thing I'm most excited about is that you're just here watching a video today. Okay, got the plugs out of the way, got all that out of the way. Let's dig into the OGO. The OGO, I feel like you need a song. Go, 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 go. There's something about the name of this, OGO, like go-go boots. I don't know, the name just kind of cracks me up for some reason. Spinrite has actually put out two different yarns in this format, as they call it, this donut-shaped format. This is the Caron Colorama. It is a bulky weight yarn. This is an acrylic yarn. So the other yarn that they put out in this is the Bernat blanket yarn, which is a size 6 yarn or a chunky weight yarn. So it's a thicker yarn, and it's polyester. So you can get yarn, an acrylic yarn and a polyester yarn, wound in this unique, possibly revolutionary way. Because apparently the more traditional ways that yarn has been wound and sold to us over time apparently is not tangle free, which I can personally attest. When I have pulled from the center, there always comes a point where either I get a big thing of yarn vomit, which tends to tangle up, or as I get near the kind of like the last third of the way through that skein, what begins to happen if I pull from the center is the skein starts to collapse in on itself, and that's usually where disaster occurs. This, by the way, is why I no longer pull from the center of the ball of yarn, and I am now a dedicated just pull it from the outside, because when I pull from the outside, I do tend to get tangles. But you'll notice here on the picture, it looks like the woman is pulling the yarn from the center. The other thing I find interesting that they put down on here is that the yarn is quick start. My guess is the reason they're calling this quick start is because sometimes you really have to dig around the middle of the skein trying to find the end of the yarn to pull out. So my guess is that when I open this, the end of the yarn is just gonna be right there and you just start. Without having to dig around for anything. That is my guess, but we will find out if I'm correct. I got this at Joann's, which I am a Joann's affiliate, so just so you know. It retailed for $8.99 online. I had a 40% discount, so I got this for $4.39 plus tax, and because I picked it up at the store, I didn't have any shipping or anything like that. And for my $5.39, I got here 100% acrylic yarn. It comes in 6.4 ounces or 228 yards or 208 meters of yarn. So let's break that down real quick. We'll go with the full retail price of $8.99 divided by 228 equals about 4 pennies a yard. 4 pennies a yard is more expensive than some other yarns that you find at Joann's. For example, the Big Twist, which is their bulky weight yarn at Joann's. It is $10.99 a yard and 644 yards. So if you do the math, $10.99 divided by 644 is about 2 pennies, 2 cents a yard. Then you have Premier Yarn's Chenille Parfait Big Yarn. It retails for $10.99 and it's made of polyester, but it is 575 yards of yarn. So again, doing the math, $10.99 divided by 575 gives you about 2 cents a yard. So you are paying a little bit more just to get this super revolutionary, or is it a gimmick, packaging. But, you know, does it work? How does it work? And of course, is the yarn itself, you know, something you would even want to knit with? Because if Red Heart Super Saver came out in this format, I'd be like, pass, not worth it. But maybe this yarn is fantastic. We're gonna find out. We're gonna find out. So what I'm going to do at this point is start opening up and testing out the yarn. Now, this yarn does come with a hat project, and according to the packaging, it says it'll take about 3 hours to do. I'm skeptical. But anyway, to get the hat pattern, I have to use this QR code. So I'm going to get this pattern ready, get a new set of needles, and then we will open this up together and we will start working on this project. All right, so I've got my pattern here, and according to it, one of these Caron Ogos will make 2 hats. I'm going to make the hat that is on the left. So I'm going to open up this packaging now. Let's see how best to do this. Oh, okay. I see. I can lift it here. Oh, okay. There we go. High tack doubles. Okay. Immediately, I'm like, there's something about this packaging I don't like. So to open it, right? I could just rip it from the bottom, but I started opening it here, and it says right here, high tack double-sided. Not a fan. Not a fan of that at all. Just like, so I think I'm gonna just put that back safely so it doesn't destroy my yarn. And I guess I'll just rip this open like this. Oh, okay. So now I see what they mean by quick start. Open this up and yep, there's the little tag of yarn. And it's neatly tucked into this bottom portion here. So clearly you are meant, when opening this up, to just tear from the bottom, but there's no indication on the packaging that that's what you're intending to do. I don't love that. I think that if you're someone like me and you might start from the middle, you would totally miss this portion of it. The details matter, okay? But anyway, down here on this tab, you get the washing instructions and you get instructions on how to open up the yarn. And it says, to begin working with Ogo, locate the end of the yarn, carefully cut plastic tie where ends of the Ogo meet, pull to remove tie. If desired, colors can be easily separated by gently pulling apart and coloring and cutting at the color transition. Each color is ready to use. Huh. Okay. Well, we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to be doing that or not, but we'll see what the pattern says. Okay, so here's this. Here's my end. I'm going to gently pull this apart And okay, the plastic piece is really obvious. It's right there. Right there, that's the piece of plastic that you have to cut. All right, so get my scissors out. And I'm going to just make sure I only cut the plastic. That plastic cut extremely easily, so that's a good thing. Oh, let me take this piece of plastic out. Ooh, wow. That's much longer than I thought it would be. That piece of plastic is much longer than I thought it would be. That's the piece of plastic holding it all together. Okay, so it's opened up. Now it's not like this cute little donut shape. It opens up like this. And frankly, it kind of looks like, a dune sandworm to me. I mean, it's just so wormy. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. When I first read this online, I kind of assumed that the yarn was wrapped around the core of something, but it's not. It's yarn all the way down. So obviously a lot of the interest in this yarn has to do with this way that they are winding it into this donut. See, now I can do this and it kind of looks like a toilet seat, right? Maybe one you would use for We talked a lot about the packaging of the yarn and what's on the packaging and how this is wound together. Let's take a moment and observe the yarn itself before we start on the project. The packaging, as it says, is 100% acrylic, but this is kind of an interesting acrylic yarn. It's soft, it's not scratchy in any way, but it has that sort of, it feels like it's been brushed, so it's almost not velvet, but like velveteen. I didn't mean velveteen, velour. The word I was looking for throughout this entire video was velour. The yarn reminds me of velour. It's soft, but it's not fooling anybody either. This definitely feels like acrylic. It's not unpleasant though, at least right now, just feeling it like this, it's not an unpleasant feeling, you know? It's not scratchy, it doesn't seem like it's uncomfortable. I'm just gonna open this up and see how many plies there are and how tightly spun this is. So yeah, this is a 3-ply yarn, which isn't really surprising because it's a nicely rounded yarn. And also it has a nice tight spin to it. This is not loosely spun like the Caron Simply Soft. Just first impression, I don't love the yarn, but I don't hate it, you know. But it's not until I really start working with it that I'll really start having a feel for the yarn. So I'm gonna cast on and we're gonna start working this hat and I'll start giving you my first impressions of this yarn and what it's like to work with and what it's like having it come off this format. I will say, just pulling it from the center, it is a very smooth pull. I know sometimes when you pull from a center of a skein, a more traditional skein of yarn, you can feel when the yarn vomit, it's like, oh, tug it a little bit. Hey, tug a little, the yarn vomit is coming. The yarn vomit is about to happen. Just, you know, the first foot or couple of feet of this yarn, not getting any of that sensation. So I'm reading a little bit more of the pattern now, and I'm reading it off my phone, but it says for version 1 colors, which that is my preferred color scheme, interesting. This is not a self-striping situation. It says colors can be easily separated by gently pulling apart and cutting at the color transition. Each color is ready to use. Follow color guides shown in materials section for each OGO. So it goes, this isn't A here at the end like you would expect. This they consider A, B, D, C, and this gray is E, which connects together. And I'm supposed to cast on with this color. Well, I guess we're gonna test whether it's really that easy to pull this apart. Okay. I get what's going on now. This is spun into its own little cone that was tucked up into this like a Russian doll. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna cut at the transition. I will say, once I got over like pulling it apart, it was very easy to do. What I don't love is that once I pulled it apart, this here is looking very, shall we say, not as nicely put together as if you were just to start from this end and go around. But hey, we're following the pattern, right? All right, so I cut that. I guess I will take this and put this over here for later. I'm going to be pulling from the center here. We're going to cast on 64 stitches. We're going to just use, I'm going to just use my long tail cast on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 11. Right now I'm putting a stitch marker on the running leg between 2 stitches. This is to both help me keep track of my stitch count and avoid twist later when I join in the round. I have a whole video about this that I will link down in the description box if you like to watch it. All right, so I have 64 stitches now on my needle, and I'm going to actually use something called traveling loop. That's also another video I just recently did. You might see what I'm talking about, but I'm going to knit this to start off with utilizing a technique called traveling loop. So I've joined in around, and I'm starting to do my knit 1, purl 1, 1x1 ribbing. Okay, ooh, having a little bit of a rough start here. There we go. Now we're off to the races. So we're gonna just knit around. Right off the bat, knitting this first round. The yarn is fine. It's not yarn, truthfully, that I would normally buy. It's just not my preference. First of all, I don't generally knit with bulky weight yarns. Let's just start with that. I don't love big needles like this. Some of that probably has to do with the fact that I use this pencil grip. But yeah, the yarn has that sort of velvety quality to it, like the Bernat blanket. Your mileage is going to vary on whether you like that or not. But it's not splitty, so that's good. It's not a splitty yarn. All right, I'm going to work my next round, which is second round, same as the first, which is a 1x1 knit purl. And we're off to the races again to knit the next round. Here I am. I'm at the end of round 2. I've done 2 rounds of 1x1 ribbing, and yeah, it's fine. I will say it's pulling very nicely out from the center. There's no issues in terms of that. I'm a little nervous about transporting this around, whether this is going to stay, if I were to really shake this around and stuff, if it would really hold its shape. It seems to be. It's very interesting. At this point in the pattern, I'm supposed to switch to color E, which is this gray color. So in order for me to do the next round, I am going to have, and to continue pulling from the center, I am going to have to cut away one of the cones. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this here and use that. It'll be interesting to see what this is like to work off of it from a little piece. I'll just cut that right there at the color change. You can see now I've got 3 little lengths of wool here. I'm gonna put those to the side, and here I have my E, and it's its own little bundle now, and this, here's the center pull of this. Here it is. Here's the center pull of this. This is now just a mass. This is not the neat little thing about this. It's just now a mass. but I mean, is it gonna hold up? Regardless, I gotta switch yarns, so I'm gonna do that now. So I'm leaping ahead a bit here in time because joining in the color was like joining in a new color, and I'm right now on my second round of 1x1 ribbing with this gray color, the second color in the hat pattern. I have to say, I'm very nervous about this bit of ball holding together because it just looks so unstructured. When it's all like this, I think it's really cool and it looks like it's all gonna hold together. But when you start breaking the yarns away from each other, it's making me nervous. Like, this is not like real world testing at all. Normally I'd be knitting at my couch, watching TV, kid running around, cat running around. I have doubts whether this little bit of yarn would hold up under real, like, knitting life situation. So yeah, I mean, the Ogo does what it says it's going to do, as far as I can tell right now on this first impression. It's not tangling. It doesn't feel like it's going to tangle. I don't think I'm going to get any yarn barf in whatever section of this that I'm working in. It does pull apart easily if you want to create more mini skeins, but you could just work continuously if that's what you wanted to do. So it does what it says it's going to do in terms of the format of this yarn. I have some questions. About storage. I don't think this yarn is great. I don't think this is as convenient to store as like a more traditional skein of yarn or a hank of yarn or a ball, a cake, what have you. So it's not a gimmick in terms of it works, but I do feel like it's a gimmick in terms of I think this is really meant to appeal to more beginning knitters who maybe aren't as familiar with different yarn formats, aren't as used to doing yarn management, don't necessarily have their own winding station like I do, where you can wind up whatever hank of yarn you want into a cake, which, by the way, a cake is my favorite way to have a ball of yarn wound up. But I think the limitation of this is, at the end of the day, as I said earlier, it's still fiber first, right? Fiber is what's going to matter first. The yarn itself is what's going to matter most. As for this yarn itself, it's fine. It's an acrylic yarn. It's not a terrible acrylic yarn. It's not scratchy. I think it has for me, it's a kind of a weird tactile sensation because it has a much more synthetic feel to it. And this is not a lofty yarn. This feels like a much denser yarn. You know, a really nice wool yarn will have kind of this nice loft airiness to it, but this yarn is dense. One thing about this yarn I'm definitely noticing, I noticed a little bit as I was knitting, which is there's definitely color bleed that is going on. Like you can see right here in this green, it's this blue in particular. This blue just seems to be getting on all of the other colors and popping off. You can see it here. So I think there's a real question also in terms of this yarn and how it's manufactured. Now, you can embrace that and just say, hey, that's part of the quality of the yarn. That's part of what you're doing. But I feel like it's a lot. So if you like this yarn in and of itself, then maybe sure, go for the Ogo. But if you don't like the yarn, there's no reason to buy Ogo. And as for me personally, look, I'm not snobby when it comes to fiber. I have a whole review, epic review, comparing acrylic fibers, economical yarns, acrylic fibers. I use acrylic yarns. I'm not snobby about this. But for me personally, this is not an acrylic yarn that I would think to go to. I much prefer Joann's Big Twist. I much prefer Caron Simply Soft. Knit Picks Brava is good. I mean, there's so many good acrylic yarns out there nowadays. This is kind of meh yarn packaged in an interesting way. but it's still meh yarn. So that's my first impression and experience with the Ogo yarn. I'm gonna finish knitting up this hat probably. No, I will. I'm gonna finish knitting up this hat just to see how the rest of the experience goes, see what the quality is really like. And I'll do an update. Probably do an update on this either on live stream or I'll post something to social media. We'll see. But I will do as an update if anything changes my mind or if I learn more about the yarn as I work with it more. But yeah, that is, I think, it for today. So what about you? What do you think? What are your thoughts as you watch this review? Have you tried the Ogo yarn yourself? What has been your experience? Have you seen this bleeding on the yarn the way I have? I'm so curious if I'm the only one who's had this, if this is like kind of a one-off situation or if this is typical for this yarn. I think that is it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed today's video and got some useful information out of it. If so, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with your other knitting and crocheting friends or anyone who you think might enjoy this video. If you'd like to find me on social media and follow all things Carrie CraftGeek and keep up to date on what's going on with the channel, with me, my thoughts on this Ogo yarn, you can find all my social media down in the description box. All right, thank you for sitting through my plugs, but most importantly, thank you for watching my video. That is it for today. I hope that you have a wonderful day, evening, weekend, weeknight, whenever you may be watching this. And as always, happy health and happy crafting. Bye. Spinrite. Okay, so a few weeks. Start over. It's like a donut, man. It's like a donut. A donut. Do you know what it is, or do you know the reference I'm making? But yeah, like it looks like a toilet seat now. Now it looks like just sort of a worm. The movie Dune is coming out. This packaging is so funny. Anyway.